Ready for dumb time? I hope you are. If you'll recall, I paid $6,150 to buy a leap on Google. While it's still too early to determine whether this was a big brain move or a YOLO adjacent act of degeneracy, I thought I'd share with you my thoughts on this situation in the meantime. Because if you're watching this channel, there's a good likelihood you're in the same situation. This leap expires in January 2026 and has a strike price of $150, and right now I'm down about 50%. Why am I in this predicament? Because I forgot the cardinal rule, which is that stocks do the opposite of what you want them to do. The only surefire way to make money in the stock market is to DCA over 30 years and forget your account password. Uninstalling your Robinhood account is probably a good start. However, I personally need to be gambling thousands of dollars on a regular basis in order to feel alive. So without further feeling sorry for myself, let's talk about my potential exit strategies. Let's use the conundrum I'm currently in as something we can all learn from, while also laughing at how bad I am at investing. Also, this way no one can ever accuse me of only sharing my wins and not my losses like some other stonks guys I could name. Like I said, I bought a leap, basically paying $61.50 per share for the right, but not the obligation, to buy Google at a strike price of $150 per share by January 16th of 2026. This means that my break-even price is $211.50. That's the price I need Google to recover to, and after how this year's gone so far, it's not looking good. Currently Google's hovering at $166 per share, so we're like $45 away from the break-even price. As you can see, we're quite a bit below my worst-case scenario estimates, which I conjured up earlier this year out of thin air. I was so young and naive back then. I guess I didn't think it was structurally possible for things to get this shitty this quickly. I guess I forgot about the dark times. But that was then, and this is now. And this feels a little different. I think it's mostly because no one actually voted for COVID. I'm sharing my current predicament not only in the hopes that you as an option buyer, who is perhaps in a similar situation, can learn something from me, but also that I may learn something from your brilliant comments. I forgot who it was, but someone basically told me to eat all my losses now and cycle into international stocks. One of you's also been recommending gold stocks. Gold is interesting because it's one of the few asset classes whose charts don't look like absolute shit on a year-to-date basis. So if you're a gold bug, congratulations. And now join me in a brief prayer. Blessed be the almighty dollar, and all those who chase it. Amen. Now let's get into it. Broadly, there are 4 possible scenarios for how this plays out. Scenario 1. The stock makes a dramatic recovery and exceeds $250 a share by January of 2026. Scenario 2. The stock lands at the break-even. Scenario 3. The stock lands between the strike price and the break-even. And Scenario 4. God help us. The stock ends up below the strike price. Let's go through each scenario. In Scenario 1, the stock recovers bigly and blows past $250. In this scenario, I sell the call, make a shitload of money, and then make a video about how smart I am and why you should like and subscribe. Which reminds me, please go ahead and do those things, and also consider subsidizing my bad choices by becoming a member either here on YouTube or on Patreon. You can support the channel for as little as $3 a month, which is cheaper than Netflix, and you'd be supporting independent degenerate media. Right now I've got 2 subscribers in the High Priest tier on Patreon, and I've committed to creating and sharing a public portfolio for sound financial investments once I reach 10 supporters in this tier. So if you want to watch me wreak further havoc on my finances, please consider becoming a High Priest on Patreon. There's no High Priest tier on YouTube unfortunately, but you can still become a member here for $3 a month, which unlocks some frog and big booty Tate emojis I made. I know this stuff is more relevant for streamers, but I still thought I'd share. Sorry, I hate doing self-promotion, but it's part of the game and I have to do it. Now let's get back to my conundrum. In Scenario 2, the stock hits the break-even price of $221. And given how totally ass the market's been, breaking even would be a welcome scenario at this point. If this happens, I just sell the leap for the cost I bought it for, $6,150, earn a 0 return, having of course been gently diddled by inflation in the meantime. Still, not the worst outcome. Scenario 3, the stock ends up between the break-even price of $221 and the strike price of $150. Let's say the stock ends up at $160 by expiration. If this happens, I'll sell some crack in order to scrape up enough capital to exercise the leap and buy 100 shares of Google at the $150 strike price, but at least have the benefit of recouping the intrinsic value of the option. I paid over $6,000 for this stupid leap, and letting it expire without at least getting the benefit of buying the underlying shares, $10 below the current market price, would be extremely painful. Sure, I could sell the call and eat a small loss, but as a believer in Google and the fast approaching technocracy, I'd rather own the shares at an admittedly high cost basis because I think if I hold them long enough, they'll not only recover but increase in value even more. Basically, I'd rather wait a bit longer to recoup more capital than eat a loss on the leap just because I'm time constrained. I guess rolling the call further out into the future could be another option, but in a scenario where the shares are trading at say $180 near expiration, it may just be easier to exercise the option and own the shares. That way I don't have to deal with options and time decay and all that other stuff anymore. Let's pretend the stock ends up at $180. At this price, I'm only $31 away from what is technically still my break-even price. So I'd only need the shares to appreciate another 17% from $180 to get there. And that's the sort of thing that can potentially happen in a week of good news, assuming we ever have good news ever again. And finally, scenario 4. The stock falls below the strike price of $150. Holy fuck. Let's say the stock falls to $125. If this happens, it won't even be worth it to exercise the call anymore. I'm just completely fucked in this scenario, because I don't think I'll be able to call it early enough to limp away with maybe an 80% loss. I'm too greedy. At this price level, it wouldn't even be worth it to exercise the option. Basically, the option expires completely worthless, and I retreat to the final refuge of a man with no money, no rope, and no plan. Forced to take the ultimate copium. And by that I mean, it's time to harvest that tax loss. So those are the 4 main scenarios that I see. Given how fucked the market's been, I'm wondering if any of you are in a similar situation. If so, how are you handling it? Are you taking losses early, or do you still believe things could rebound? Are you buying the dip? Do you still have faith in JPOW, through whom all things are possible? Let me know in the comments. We've covered a few scenarios and potential exit strategies, but are there other things I could do to minimize my losses? Sure. But they'd probably further complicate the situation, to be honest. I could, for example, buy a put against Google. I could also sell a poor man's covered call against the leap. But it's like I always say, you gotta be careful risking your potential capital appreciation. You have to ask yourself if generating $13 in premium is worth the potential trade-off of a sudden spike in the underlying stock price. More often than not, as I've said before, poor man's covered calls are just silly. This short call, for example, has a 0.03 delta. So I'll most likely get to keep that $13 and buy myself 3 chicken tacos from the local deli. I do actually think this specific call would expire out of the money, but it's almost not even worth the 3 or 4 clicks I'd need to do to sell it. My usual Theta Gang strategy, which lets me ignore my portfolio for days at a time, has left me ill-equipped to manage aggressively long delta positions like leaps. Now that $195 strike, which is 17% away from the current price, that's a $21 premium that you could collect right now. That's more than just some cheap tacos. That's a big-ass Chipotle bowl with extra chicken and guac. Is it worth it? I guess it depends how hungry you are. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll keep you posted on my Google Leap, because if I'm gonna get my ass handed to me, I may as well extract some YouTube content from the suffering. I'm hoping things start shaping up by June, but honestly, I just don't know right now.
Help me, I'm poor.
Things are getting nuttier by the day, but if you have a crystal ball and know what's gonna happen a year from now, then feel free to share with the rest of us so we can plan accordingly. Until then, we put our faith in Jerome Powell and the almighty dollar. Amen. Remember to drink plenty of water, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.